Good morning. I'm very happy to virtually be here as I keep trying to drop my camera. So earlier today, Stephanie asked the question of Shane and Amy, how does story help us access the heart? And I was really excited about that because that was literally what I'd written. What I was doing with Medusa is how the heart of her story helped me to see my own personal heart as well as that of the world. And when I say the world, at first I was thinking society, but it actually extended to more than that, and the literal world, the plants and everything around us. So the way that I was able to engage with Medusa and the myth was first through some myth talks. I do these things with women. We get together and talk about a myth and do some artwork and maybe some yoga. And I had a complete plan of what we were going to do, and the technology went out and it all jumped and went to Medusa. She just kept coming back and back, and I dealt with them with high schoolers. Had a lot of fun talking about monsters and our need for balance, and like high schoolers feeling misunderstood. So then through art creation, a lot of the times like we like to do would be not just to talk about the myth and the story and some of the questions that it brings up, but also create some artwork from it. And the artwork that I'm currently working with, as Stephanie mentioned, was historical fiction. Mythology are archetypal stories, and Amy mentioned to us, it's not just Greek mythology, it's not just the ancients, it's also our fairy tales, the movies, the TV shows we watch. Those things are also our archetypal stories. And what they do is they show us this slice of our life, the culture that exists at that time. And so it leads itself so beautifully to historical fiction because it includes the wars that are happening, the attitudes of the time. But it also has that archetypal nature that connects, but is also ambiguous. It often creates more questions than it does answers. As we start to get into it, there's just more and more. Who is Medusa? Was she involved with Poseidon on purpose or against her will? Was Athena really against her as much as we think? There's just so many things that if we look at it from different angles, we learn so much, not just about ourselves, but each other. So it's through those questions that we really learn from the story. And I just want to talk about what Medusa taught me. In my presentation, I touch on otherness, balance, cycles, and the need to tell our stories. So the first thing with otherness, those of us that were the us, the strangers or the gods, because a stranger could be a god in disguise, or a stranger could be, a nobleman or somebody or of higher rank. So they were treated with xenia. They were treated very well with hospitality. But the others, the monsters, the Medusas, they were slayed. People were sent out to kill them, and that was also how they treated their slaves. There was an entire society we don't see in the Greek stories, and that's that of the others, the monsters and those that weren't in power. And when we look at what do we teach in our own world, and what do we see subjectively, like the gods and the strangers, and what do we think of objectively, treating them as objects? And you think about nature, you think about animals, you think about all the things that we're starting to see that we've been treating as objects all along that are actual subjects. They have their own soul, they have their own heart. The next thing I learned a lot from Medusa was balance and cycles. The need for balance. We do have children from Gaia that are from the air. We have children that are from the sea. And then we have a child that is from Tartarus. And so that the need for balance. I'm a little animated. Okay. I need to balance my phone again. My phone has a better camera than my computer. So, but yeah, so that kind of taught me that, but it also the cycles. Because if you think about it, the children of the air, we have creation. They created these stories. That's the gods, the humans. They're chaos, and they create all these things that are happening. And then you have the monsters that come along, and they protect these deep places, and they give us some sort of balance. They're kind of that medium, like, maintenance time. And then you have Typhon who comes along, and that's the child of Tartarus, and he's meant to destroy. I think he was meant to destroy Zeus, but he failed. But that's the destruction, the cycle. And so in the story with Medusa, we see the cycle broke. It's broken because Zeus never does relinquish his power in the stories. And the last thing I really learned from Medusa was how to tell, the importance of telling our stories. So telling our stories, it's not just because it's fun to tell and it's enjoyable, but also we think about how it connects us and it helps us look at things through a different lens. And when you look at things through a different lens, it inspires others to look at things in a different lens. And they look at these stories from different angles and start thinking, well, maybe the story in real life, because you think about our lives as stories and how much they, looking at them from those different angles, if you can look at things in life with different angles, you can see maybe not just the person in front of you, but also their heart. So thank you. I can't wait to listen to what Abigail has to say.